The 24-25 Women's Super League is on winter break and it gives us a perfect chance to assess every team's season so far. We discuss whether they've met expectations in the first half of the season, what transfers they need to do in January, and predict the second half of the campaign. Today we focus our attention on Leicester City. A season that was built up with expectation, with exciting transfers and a new manager at the helm, has been derailed by injuries. We discuss why they shouldn't be as low as they are in the table, how the numbers suggest the defence is actually one of the strongest in the division, and the one sign they need to start climbing the WSL table. This is our mid-season review for Leicester City. Alright, let's get into it then. We're continuing our series of looking through every WSL club season so far, and today we're on to Leicester. Harry, Leicester, a bit of a weird season for them. There was a lot of hype in the summer, some exciting transfers, obviously the appointment of Amandine Mikel. It's not really materialised on the pitch though, has it?
Not quite, as you say. We came into this season from a Leicester point of view thinking top coach, some top players. There's a really good chance that they could, build on what they did last season and start to climb up the league a little bit. And that just hasn't happened. If anything, they've got a little bit worse. And I don't think that is down to the players or the coach. It's been a really tough season for Leicester. They've had a lot of injuries. They cannot find the back of the net. They're really struggling in front of goal without Mouchon, without Rantala, and that has been the problem, because we speak about those top players. When you think about who those new signings were and who their top players are, you've got Mouchon, the new striker signing, who came in and got injured. Rantala's been out for the last few weeks. Is it Chosanote's also picked up an injury? They've got so many injuries in the final third that they've struggled to find the back of the net. And in football, you don't win games if you don't score. It's as simple as that. And that has been the story of Leicester's season. They've been really good defensively, I think. I've been impressed with how solid they've been at times, as a defensive unit. But they won't pick up points if they don't score goals. And with so many players missing right now, they've really struggled to score.
Yeah, it says everything that Takarada has been their number 9. She's a great utility defensive midfielder, but she's not a striker per se. And I think that has hampered them a lot. I think defensively, Leicester have actually been one of the better sides this season. Bar the result against Manchester City, where I think they lost 4-0. They haven't really been on the end of too many big losses. Obviously the Chelsea game was a brilliant result for them, a 1-1 draw. So I think defensively they've been really good this season, and we saw in that Chelsea game, Chelsea really struggled to break down the Foxes. The problem for Leicester is they don't pack much of a punch in their own attack. We saw Missy Goodwin obviously score for them against Chelsea, which was a big improvement. They need more players like that to step up and score goals. I just don't think we've seen enough from Rose. I don't think we've seen enough from Mamiki. Takarada, I don't blame her because she's not a striker.
Yeah.
But they desperately need an attacker that's going to come in and take the game by the scruff of the neck. You've got Yuta Rantala out till March. So something to bear in mind, she will be back before the end of the season. Naomi Mouchon out for the campaign. So they do need a striker. If not, I think they are very much one of the two clubs that's having that relegation fight. I think Palace are down there. I think for me, Leicester at the moment, unless they have a big January, are definitely in that conversation.
Yeah, I think for Leicester, the Chelsea game proved a lot. For me, not only is it a brilliant point to, you had a flaw as Chelsea came to the King Power and Leicester managed to take a point off them, but what Leicester proves is that when they can score, they will get points, they will get wins, they will get draws, because they are so good at the back. So even just 1 or 2 goals is enough to keep points. A goal a game, 1 or 2 goals here and there is enough to keep the points ticking over. Because we know that they won't concede that many at all. So they've got to keep working at that. As you say, January is going to be a big month. They have to bring in a forward for me, or they're going to have to start. The players they have got are going to have to start performing. But the problem is they're not players you can rely on. They were players that, when the players you named there were the players who were expected to be those rotation attackers to support the likes of Mouchon and Rantala. They're not the players you expect to step up and deliver some incredibly consistent numbers. So for Leicester, I think they're going to have to recruit in January. They're going to have to look to improve in forward areas. But as you say, it could be a very difficult season, but they've got the quality for me where if they manage to hold on until when the likes of Rantala are back, if they can have a decent few months, just beat the teams they need to beat. If they beat Palace, get something at Everton, get something at West Ham, then suddenly they'll find themselves in a really good position. So it's not all doom and gloom for Leicester, but I think they're one of the sides that definitely have to be looking over their shoulder and have to be careful of of where they could end up in the table come the end of the season.
The thing is, I think if they add some goal scorers, they will be absolutely fine because the data suggests that they're playing really well. In terms of goals conceded this season, they've conceded only the top 4 sides have conceded less. They've conceded less than Brighton this season. The issue is they've scored only 3 goals this season. It's half of the next lowest team, and it's nowhere near anyone that they want to be competing with.
You just don't get anywhere with scoring 3 goals in 10 games. It's as simple as that. That's an incredibly poor statistic. That is horrible reading for Leicester. And that when the goals are that low, it isn't going to matter how many goals you concede because you're going to lose every game 1-0.
Well, that's what's happened because they've only conceded more than once on 3 occasions this season. Then they were the 4-0 loss to Manchester City, and I think 2-0 to Crystal Palace, 2-0 to Manchester United. So they've not been on the end of drubbings. As I say, it's just 1-0 losses here and there, and on occasion a 1-1 or a 0-0 draw.
Yeah.
Their only win this season coming at home to Everton, I think says it all. They've not been able to score with much consistency. So yeah, it's a big problem.
It is a huge problem, and I feel for Leicester fans because they must be one of the least entertaining teams to watch right now because they don't you don't see any goals. If you watch Leicester games, you just don't watch goals, and I think that Leicester, yes, they can probably survive drawing every game 0-0, but they won't want to do that, and I think Amadine Mikel is a good manager. She will want to play nice football and get really good results. Hopefully they can reinforce because I do think that if you put this Leicester backline with a strong attacking lineup with Mikel in charge, I genuinely think they can really climb up the table and look like a top quality side, similar to the level that we've seen from Brighton and Vidicic this season. That's where I had Leicester going into the start campaign.
Well, I think I put it in 5th or 6th in the league, didn't I? I went mental with it.
And I think when you actually think about all the factors, that's where they could be. But they just have to score more goals than 3.
Well, if you add Rantala's goals from last season, suddenly it's a very different looking campaign for Leicester. So if you go back to 23-24, Rantala scored 6 goals, Lena Petterman scored 5 goals. That's 2 players they're missing this season. If you add 11 goals to their tally, suddenly they've scored 14, and they're probably in the conversation for the top 5.
Yeah.
And that, for me, is the big difference at the moment, is the simple fact they're not scoring goals. They have to start scoring goals.
Yeah.
But they are only 3 points off 7th. They're only 5 points off the team in 6th. It's not a huge gap to close. I think if they add strikers, if they add attackers in January, then I don't think there's a chance they get relegated.
Yeah.
But I don't think they will. And so I think it's very difficult to predict the relegation battle because none of them really should go down. And I think that's what makes the WSL really special, is that the relegation, whoever goes down, it will feel unjust because the quality is so well spread out. But I think Leicester, if they add some good attackers, shouldn't be worrying about relegation.
No.
It should be how high in this league can they climb. So in terms of January, then obviously we've said let's see some attacking reinforcements. I think they could turn their hand to the Women's Championship and see who's available. I think someone like Fionn Morgan would be a really nice addition of someone who can come in, offer you goal-scoring prowess, but once Naomi Mouchon is back, is happy to play as a backup. Because I think she'd be happy playing that sort of rotational role. She can also cover out in wide areas as well. So I think that would give you a nice a player there who can cover a couple of positions, a nice attacking option. I think obviously Jutta Rantala's coming back, so that's not too paramount. And Chosa Notte, I believe, will be back before the end of the season as well. So it's not too paramount you replace those. And to be fair, I think Goodwin looked really good in that Chelsea game, so maybe bring her in as a starter. But yeah, they just need to sign players that are going to score goals. They have to sign a striker. They've got to stop playing Takarada there and then go from there, really.
It's a really difficult one to get right, I feel, for Leicester, because you want to bring in someone who's going to deliver goals and who's going to play very well, but obviously that will become a problem if you go for an incredibly talented player who can deliver goals, who wants to start week in, week out. That will work for now, but as soon as you likes of Mouchon are back, you end up in a really difficult scenario. So right now, Leicester need to find the balance in a striker who can, help their scoring output and put up some decent numbers. But as you say, will also be happy to play second fiddle once Mouchon's back, because Mouchon's a top striker. So you need to, she's going to come back in and start eventually once she's back fit towards next season. So you've got to find someone who's kind of a bit of a filler for 6 months until the end of the season, and then we happily, go back to the sidelines come the next campaign.
Yeah, I think you're spot on. The perfect move would be a loan, but I think the issue is if you're considering young strikers available for loan, well, Michelle Aguibang's already gone to Brighton. Manchester City's Poppy Pritchard is at Crystal Palace. So, I mean, you could look at Chelsea, but I don't really think that Amy Claypole is ready for that sort of loan move. So I'm not really sure what you could get from there.
Chelsea would be right because they've got loads of strikers, but all of them are injured at the moment, so there's no point loaning them in.
Yeah, and you're not going to get Mia Fischel or any of the others on a loan, really. So it's very difficult to pull anything like that off. The only player realistically will be able to loan from Chelsea's Lola Brown. I'm not sure she's ready for first team action just yet. She does look very exciting, though. So I think it's a tough one. I think it's a really tough one because there aren't a whole load of options in the WSL. If you were to go further afield, I'm sure you could find someone at Barcelona to loan in. We've already seen other clubs in the WSL quite effectively loaning in Barcelona players. Brighton with Bruno Villamaya, with Jess in Everton announced Martina Fernandez. So, yeah, maybe that's an option to explore, looking further afield, seeing if there's loan deals to be made. But, yeah, I think at the moment that's got to be Leicester's priority, is getting in a striker. The other priority has got to be renewing Jutta Rantala, because her contract is up in the summer. There may be other contracts as well. We're not too sure. It's not very transparent, the contract lengths in the women's game. So we're not 100% sure, but we do know that Jutta Rantala's contract expires this summer. That's got to be the prerogative as well for Leicester, because they can't afford to lose her, especially not for free. If they're going to sell her, she's a £150,000-200,000 player. So that's a huge loss if she goes for nothing.
It's a no-brainer. You have to renew her because either, as you say, you sell her on for a really good fee, or you keep her and she plays incredible football and scores loads of goals for you once again. They cannot allow Rantala to go on a free at the end of the season. Whether they have a choice, I don't know, because will Rantala fancy her options if she sees out her contract and then someone else picks her up on a free?
Definitely.
I think she could be tempted. So Leicester are going to have to offer her a lot. But again, as we said, there is potential there with this Leicester squad to really climb the league. I think if you promise Rantala that, she might sign on, give her a load of money, throw everything at her, give her all the money that Leicester have, and hope that she takes it, because Leicester, they need her. She's a top quality player, and it's a player that you just cannot afford to let go for a free.
And that's the issue, is she can run out her contract, and if she's looking around at options, there'd be a whole plethora of clubs that want to take her. I think Tottenham would jump at the chance. I think Manchester United could do a hell of a lot worse than Jutta Rantala. I think that those sort of clubs would be looking at her. I wouldn't be surprised if Manchester City were considering her as well, given their lack of. If they were to sell Kelly, then maybe they'd be looking at bringing another winger. So, I think there will be suitors for Rantala, and that's the problem for Leicester, is how do they convince her to stay, especially given the current performance of the squad.
Yeah.
So I think it's a real difficult situation, but that's got to be the priority. Jutta Rantala has to be the priority this January. Bring in some attacking reinforcements, then look to push on the second half of the campaign for me.
Yeah, long way to go. And there are a few results. If they can find the back of the net, I think they could find themselves finishing mid-table. And again, suddenly they go, and I think we've said this for every relegation side, it's so tight that a bit of form suddenly puts Leicester, 7th, 8th in the league, and they're mid-table, and it looks like a decent season. But that goes the other way. If they don't pick up the results, and if they don't find the back of the net, they're going to find themselves, to finishing where they are at now in 11th place. And they could even find themselves finishing lower and getting relegated. And that would be a massive surprise. So, I mean, it wouldn't be watching the pre-season if you'd said that Leicester are going to get relegated, that would be a huge shock. They have to score goals because, yes, Crystal Palace below them are conceding loads, but they're also scoring some.
Yeah, and consider the quality in that Leicester squad. If they were to go down, players like Ruby Mace, Chossenotte, and obviously Noemi Mouchon, all of their defence, Leipzig and Kopp, both highly rated goalkeepers. There's so many players there that wouldn't want to play women's championships. So it'd be a huge issue.
It'd be like WSL clubs would be loving it. It'd be like a shop. They just go into Leicester and just take everything, just buy all the players they want.
So we can eat buffet, really.
Yeah,
exactly.
Isn't it? So many players would be on offer. So for Leicester, it's paramount, and they start scoring goals and they stay in the division. Yeah,
and I think they've got the minerals to do so. They've just got to get a striker through the door, really, and that maybe a creative player as well would be helpful. But just got to start scoring some goals.
Or you just sit there and cry until March, then Rantala comes back and saves them.
Saves the season, that would be ideal. Let's talk predictions for the second half of the campaign then. Obviously, at the moment, they are sat in 11th place on 6 points. We'll start with the domestic cups, though. Stoke City coming up in the Women's FA Cup. That shouldn't be an issue, should it?
That's a really nice game to come back to. In winter break, bring your team back to sharpness, get a few goals in the belt, because they will score a cut. They should score at least a few against Stoke. No offence to Stoke, I don't think they're great. But
It's a home tie. It's the Women's FA Cup. They can get the fans behind them, get some confidence back, and then go and take on Tottenham the weekend after.
yeah, their run is difficult, but it's the type of game where they can definitely take points from.
Well, exactly. You look on paper, a run of Tottenham, Liverpool, Everton, Villa, United, and Chelsea would be awful. But Tottenham, you never know what's going to happen. Liverpool are on their on their legs at the moment, on their knees. They've got no players there. They can't stand up. Everton, then, I think that is a winnable game on their day. Aston Villa, winnable on their day. Manchester United, probably not at the moment. Chelsea, well, they're drawn with them already. So why can't they do it again? I think that might be very bloody, though, because I think Chelsea will want to really make a statement.
You never know. It could be Chelsea will have other priorities come. Is that March time?
It is mid-March. Chelsea would have played.
And then Rantala's back. So after that lovely little run of 6, if they get a couple points, then Rantala comes back. They score loads of goals.
For Brighton, Tottenham, Arsenal, Manchester City.
That is a horrible.
What's a run?
Is that their running?
No, and then they do end the season with Crystal Palace and West Ham, which could be crucial games.
Wow. So it might be that nothing matters until those last 2 games. If all the teams are still in it, those last 2 games could be absolutely massive for Leicester.
Well, yeah, that Crystal Palace Leicester game could decide who stays up and who doesn't.
Yeah, that's incredible. That scheduling is for Leicester is rough. That is tough because but it's one of those where it is your responsibility. Then it is down to Leicester in control of their own destiny at that point. Because they play the 2 sides, they're probably be fighting for relegation.
It's nicer because the stakes are very apparent.
Is.
If you play the teams now, I think Everton have got a really hard run in, but they play all their nice games in January, February. Play them now, the stakes aren't quite as evident and as apparent. If you play them right at the end of the season, you know what 3 points means because there's only another game left. You know where it puts you. You know how it makes the table work relatively. So. I think that's actually helpful for Leicester.
Yeah, maybe.
Those 2 games into the season. Obviously, their run through March and April is horrible because they play all of the top 6, but from the 2nd of March to the 27th of April,
tough.
And consecutively. So that's a really tough run. But equally, all of those clubs are going to be probably in the late stage of the domestic cups, in the late stage of European competition. So, and obviously, the Women's League Cup would be done by then, but they would have played those games. So potentially you could take advantage of those sorts of things. Yeah,
definitely. And it could get the worrying thing for Leicester. It could get to the point where they are going to start taking points off the bigger sides, but they've proven they can do that. And I think when I look at Leicester, I look at West Ham, I look at Palace, and the teams at the bottom there. I think Leicester. I look at them. I think Leicester's got the best chance of taking points off big sides. They proved that. The Chelsea result was massive. What a way to go into Christmas with a big point at home there. They've got to carry that momentum on after the winter break and just see what they can do.
Yeah, indeed. And as you say there, they've shown they can be defensively solid against teams this season. They add some attacking talent. I think they can become a very counter-attacking team. You look at Everton, for example. Everton's reliance on being defensively solid and compact and then springing forward has given them results this season, like that Manchester City game. Leicester's defensive prowess has given them results like that Chelsea game. But they just need to build in a bit more consistency and a bit more attacking threat.
Yeah, definitely.
But overall, looking quite positive. So, league predictions, where do you think Leicester will end up? Are they down? Are they going to be absolutely fine? Are they going to be somewhere in the middle of those 2?
I think they'll be okay, but I don't think it'll be convincing. I'm expecting a 9th, kind of 10th position, but it will be a fight that I think goes down right to the very end for Leicester.
Yeah, again, I think it's very January dependent, and I know that's incredibly boring of me to say, and I've done it in a lot of these previews, these reviews, or I don't know what to call them, mid-season videos, but I think if they sign a striker, so they can shoot up the league. If they don't, they're at risk of being relegated. It's quite a simple equation for me, because that is where they're lacking, is the goal scoring department. And also, if Rantala comes back and just scores a hat-trick in every game, they'll probably be all right. Yeah. And she's a fantastic footballer, so that is plausible. But that, I think, is everything from us today. Make sure to get involved in the comments down below. Give us your thoughts on Leicester's season so far. And if you're new to the channel, make sure to hit that subscribe button. It massively helps us to continue growing this channel here on YouTube. If you have enjoyed this, then go and check out our other reviews, our other mid-season reviews for all the WSL clubs. We've already done 5, and we've got another few to come as well. So look out for all of those. And that we did some videos as well last week that I think you'll find interesting. One of them will be linked on screen now, so go and check those out as well. That was everything from us today. Thank you guys very, very much for watching, and we'll see you next time.
See ya.